Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. We are in the building, laid up against our pillows, and we thought that Pillow Talk would be a fun way to let you guys in on what two black professors talk about when we're lying in bed and talking about anything that comes to our mind. And I want to say good morning, babe. How you doing today?
Good morning, boys. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
You are
Feeling
feeling
good.
good this morning.
I
Okay.
am, man. Like Victory Boyd's song. Actually, it's not her song. It's Nina Simone's song. But Victory Boyd, our favorite singer, who sang at our
Yes.
wedding, she sings, "And I'm feeling
Look at that
good."
singing voice.
Oh, you better
You
quit,
missed your calling voice. You should have been a singer.
woman. Stop lying. You know I can't sing.
No, but really, you can sing.
Let me tell y'all. See this.
You're a great karaoke singer.
See, I think Alicia knows the secret to catching a man's heart. She tells me that I can sing, and y'all know I can't sing. Y'all done heard me sing before, and y'all know I can't sing. And she also tells me I have no body odor, which is a damn lie. But I like it though. Keep lying to me,
No,
man.
I'm not.
I'm
I'm
okay
not.
with that.
I don't think people. I think people who are around you a lot, they know this. Like you're
Hmm.
just naturally good at everything. Like I
Wow.
really admire that. It's like it's effortless, and you're just spot on all the time.
There we go. Just keep them
I
coming.
mean it too.
Keep them coming. Well,
You
anyway,
know, you know me, voice. I can't lie.
well,
Even if I wanted to, I can't lie.
and she literally thinks my shit don't stink. I'm not gonna go no more detail with that. Like that. That's
How's this possible?
so
You're not human. Okay, boys, you are not human.
you're not normal, but
I
I but
mean
I but
it.
I love it though. That's all right. I appreciate it. I'm not gonna complain.
You really are extraordinary.
Well, I think you're beautiful and smart and amazing. Anyway, so let's hop into the topic. All right, first
Mhm.
of all, let me say good morning to everybody. Good morning to Sharice and Antonio Maddox and Willis Tracy and Crystal McDaniel and Chris Mack and Child of Ogun, Byron Patton, Trey Williams, Ivy Walker, Margot Tina. Shout out, put your B1 in the chat, hashtag B1. I want to make sure we're all black first and we love our community. Oh, by the way, who is it? Asaya says, I need to clone you. Oh, he said clone her and you'll be a zillionaire. Well, you are a unicorn.
I'm not a unicorn.
Well, we saw that video where they were talking about how the pretty girls are usually real arrogant and get on your damn nerves. And I said, oh, I got a pretty one who's humble. This is cool. So, good morning, everybody. Good morning. All right. So let me ask you guys a question. So did you all hear? I mean, how many of you heard about the controversy with Shaun King? And this has been a topic of conversation between Alicia and I. We tend to sort of look at what's going on in the black community, and we saw what was going on with Shaun. And I guess the latest controversy, I mean, the poor guy, he's always in the middle of conversations, is he bought this house in New
Hmm.
Jersey. How many of y'all heard about that? Give me a yes or no if you saw this. So Shaun bought this house. Shaun King's an activist. If you don't, so just for those who don't know, he's kind of an activist. He does a lot of stuff on social media. Has millions of followers, and brought a lot of attention to a lot of issues. But he's also brought a lot of controversy. Like the mother Tamir Rice has a real issue with him. DeRay McKeeson, some other activists he's worked with have an issue with him, and he's been hit hard with a lot of things. And anyway, so the latest controversy that was picked up on the media, New York Post, stuff like that, is that he and his wife bought this house that was about $830,000 in New Jersey, and the language they used was like, Shaun King is living in a luxurious estate while online begging for donations.
Hmm.
And it became a big
Hmm.
deal, and I guess it put a lot of pressure on him because this morning, Shaun puts out this really interesting statement, and we're gonna read it to you. But basically, it's kind of like he said, I remember the big thing I remember is he said he has to move now because so many people know his address and he doesn't feel safe and stuff like that. So, what do you think about all that, babe?
I thought the statement was really odd. I remember sending it to you. I read it. I think I read it last night, and I thought the statement was really strange that he felt the need to respond in that way. I
Okay.
wonder what type of pressure was put on him to do that. I also wondered if he has a PR person that could help him
Mm,
craft together language that sounds a little more. authentic
Mm.
and not necessarily as defensive.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
And I feel awful that someone's actually physically going to his house or knows where he is and he might be harassed. That's a concern.
Mm-hmm.
Putting yourself out there in social media and people finding in the letter they said that they found his address and posted his home address online.
Mm.
So that brings some concern. That's why I sent it to you, because
Mm.
I would hate for someone to post our address online. It would
Well,
be easy for people to do that. I would hate that,
yeah.
you know?
Well, it's one of those things though where I feel like it kind of comes with the territory that you're gonna have. Internet trolls can be pretty terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you like Shaun King or not or disagree with him, nobody has a right to troll you like that or to put your children or your family in a situation where they feel like they're in harm's way. Like, right? Like, we know that that's not cool. But we also live in the real world. And again, I don't really know how people feel about Shaun King. I'm going to guess that our audience, when we did a survey, I said, how many of you trust Shaun King? It was literally like 51-49, yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
51, about 50%, 51%. I don't remember which one was 51, which one's 49,
Mm-hmm.
but like it was right down the middle. Like, in fact, I'm gonna ask you guys this in the chat. How many of you trust Shaun King? Give me a yes or no in the chat. A simple yes or no question. How many of you trust Shaun King? Give me a yes or no. And I don't want to see the answers because it's fascinating to me. I've never seen a person who was so down the middle. Like, look at that. Look. Okay, Derek Griffin says yes.
Mm-hmm.
Margotina says no.
Okay.
Callie says no. Darian says no. Okay, there's a lot more no's than were before.
So I wonder
Click
what the
Tech says
reason
yes.
could
Okay.
could I wonder if they could elaborate on why not trust Shaun King. Is it because there is a trail of people who have worked with him that do not have positive things to say about him?
Mm, that's an issue for him,
That's a
right?
concern.
That's
Mm-hmm.
an issue, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he has and when I was reading, I was like, why do people have such an issue with him? Now I mentioned, my little personal weird issue with Shine was
Mm-hmm.
because he's from Kentucky, like I am, and he was going to come on Dr. Boy's TV actually for an interview, and then the day of the interview, and we told everybody, and everybody showed up, and then the day of the interview, somebody hits us back and says Sean's sick and he can't make it. So we're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
he's sick. So do you want to reschedule? And they
Mm-hmm.
don't even respond. And
Yeah.
that told me, when you do that, and when we message you back 2 or 3 times and then you don't respond, that means we kind of got ghosted, right? And I don't take that personally because I don't like doing interviews, to be honest with you. But it was kind of like, for me, I'm a big believer in doing what you say you're gonna do, and I felt like that was kind of like, wonder why he would do that. That wasn't.
Well, the thing is that he made a commitment that he was going to show up to talk about something. He's very much interested in social justice, so it seems to me that he should, adhere to any opportunity where he can talk about some of these things on a large platform like yours. And then it also seems like he should have been a little more honest. Maybe people just aren't honest in this sort of arena. Maybe it's a subtle thing. Maybe he didn't want to interview with you, but it seems like he should have done his homework first. If there was some sort of a philosophical issue that he had with some of the messages that you bring about, I don't know.
Well,
What do you think?
I think that maybe he got uncomfortable. Maybe he didn't trust me. Maybe he thought that I was going to do a gotcha moment and try to expose him or attack him or something. And I wasn't. I'd like to just say, like, I had Jason Whitlock on yesterday, and I know my people. Some of them love him, some of them hate him. But I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm gonna let you talk. I want to hear what you got to say. And so with Sean, it was the same rule. He's from Kentucky. I'm not gonna go beat up on somebody from Kentucky.
Gosh, I mean, for Kentucky to be such a small state, a little tiny little state in the middle of America, there's a lot of cool people from Kentucky.
So Kentucky is the coolest place ever. I thought you knew. Muhammad
What?
Ali.
What's up with
Muhammad
that?
Ali on down. Come on now. So anyway, I mean, shout out to Breonna Taylor, and who reminds me of my best buddy Greg Wilkins, who also was killed not too far from where Breonna lives. He was killed in 1996, and I still talk to his daughter Jasmine, who I'm very proud of, and it's one of those things where every city has a lot of the same problems. And I want to say thank you to Lord Ambler. Lord Ambler says he should be open to discuss his nationality. So
Of course, I agree with that.
Well,
Just say what you are. There's a lack of transparency.
mm,
Just say it. Just we respect people. I respect anyone that's just proud of who and what they are, and the good and bad of it. Take it or leave it. That's what resonates with us.
well, you know what's interesting is I've seen all those jokes. Like, you've seen the nicknames, right? Talcum X is the most popular one, and then I heard Martin Luther Cream. What was it? Was it Thieving Ivory Wayans? Which, what was another one I saw that was
Oh my
they're
goodness.
so funny. They're so funny. I gotta find a list of Shaun King's nicknames. I'm gonna Google it real quick. But by the way, everybody, this is Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia. This is where we literally are laying against our pillows and having conversations with you, with other intelligent Black people, to talk about interesting issues of the day. And so, if you want to actually subscribe, you can go to boyceandaliciatv.com. That's the URL where you can go to our YouTube channel where we kind of break stuff down and have a little bit of a mix between a silly conversation, a thoughtful conversation. And when I say intelligent Black people, I want to make this clear. I'm not saying that you have to have a certain education level. This is not elitism. This is not me saying you have to have a certain income level or a certain background. It's intelligent Black people are just people that want to operate on a higher vibration. If you want to get better, you want to get smarter, if you want to grow, then this is the place for you. If you don't want to grow, then this ain't the place for you. Yeah, I'm gonna look up Shaun King's nicknames because they were actually. I'm not saying that they're funny, but they were funny. Yeah,
Well, I want to say one more thing while
yeah,
you look up
please,
the nickname.
yeah, go ahead.
I think okay, in reading that statement, the part that did not settle right with me was at the end when he's asking for money.
Yeah.
That part,
Oh,
that
the state.
part. As
We
soon
should.
as I read that, I said, "Oh
Oh,
my God,
we should. You know
what?"
what? We should read the statement and then no, I'll just read the nicknames first.
Okay, read
So
the
we
nicknames,
ain't gonna
but
make.
I didn't care for
But
that.
that's a good point. Bring that back up again in a second. But I'm gonna read.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna read some of the interesting nicknames for Shaun King that have come up on the internet. I mean, the internet is full of people that have nothing better to do except come up with all kinds of random shit. So you got Talcum X, Thurgood Partial, W.E.B. DeBlanc, Medgar Nevers, Snow J. Simpson, Martin Luther Cream, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, get it, Cream, Iggy Apelia, James Pearl Jones, Tupac Sugar, Blankston Hughes, T'Chaka, like T'Challa, Chalka Khan, like so Chaka Khan, Chalka Khan, get
Oh,
Chalk, Jaleel White, Betty White, like
but he
Betty White, Alex Paley, Alexander Hamilton, Hewlett P. Newton, David Allen Clear, Rachel Dolezal, get it? Rachel,
yeah,
Racial,
yeah,
but not Rachel. Rachel
yeah.
Dolezal, Light Tyson, Martin Luther Keyboard. This
Keyboard.
is just mean.
Well, he called himself the Facebook pastor a
Yeah,
few years ago.
well, I mean, come on. Okay.
Okay.
Farrakhan, Farrakhan,
Oh,
racial identity buffering. I don't know what that means. Sean Connery, Con hyphen Nery, get it? Connery. Jon Snow and Stephen Ivory Wayans.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I don't. That's not a very nice, nice list to put together.
It's funny.
So he's capitalizing off of.
That's what the argument. That's the
That's the
claim.
thing. Okay.
Right, right. And that's the thing though. I think that there's a complex way to kind of look at this in the sense that I've never really been offended by what Shaun King does because I don't give him money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't give him money, then I don't feel like I have much of a right to say, okay, what's going on with the money? What's going on with the money? A lot of times, the people that are most likely to, give you a hard time about the money are the people who didn't put any money in the pot. And I think that there's a pay to play, implicit in everything. Like if I'm complaining about what ExxonMobil is doing with their company, I need to be a shareholder. If I'm not a shareholder, then I need to just be quiet.
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe it's just my own personal thing. I just have a hard time with people saying coming up with a message and then at the end they're just like, "Here's my Cash App."
Yeah, that
That
is
just that
interesting.
to me it does not sit well with me. It could sit well
Mhm.
with other people, but I just have a hard time with that. Like I don't owe you anything. What did you give me?
Yeah, I actually have some
I don't
thought. I
understand.
had some thoughts on that with Sean too, and I'm gonna share these thoughts because I'm gonna tell you I'm not convinced that the guy is only doing this because he wants attention and money and everything else. I believe Sean really is an activist, but that doesn't mean he's a perfect person, right?
Mhm.
And but I mean I've seen his energy online. He's on it.
I love
He's
him. I like it. I
dedicated.
like what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah, and he's good at it, right?
Mhm.
And here's the thing. Here's the argument I made. I said we pay we have no problem accepting the idea that somebody who's the best in the world or something making a lot of money. Like if I told you Simone Biles made a bunch of money from doing cartwheels and stuff or backflips, you wouldn't be surprised. If I told you that Naomi Osaka makes a bunch of money by being a great tennis player, you're not surprised. When I tell you Kevin Hart makes millions by being the best at telling jokes or one of the best, you're not surprised. But when Sean, when Sean makes money, any amount of money for being the best at what he does, people are like, nah, that's BS. He needs to be poor. If he lives in he moved in an $800,000 house. What's wrong with him? He's clearly scamming people. And
Well, he made it very clear that his wife bought the house.
well, he did say that. But even if his wife hadn't bought it,
Mhm.
I think that that's what black activists. That's why black activism does not succeed. Is that we believe activists have to take a vow of poverty to become activists. That if you ain't broke, struggling, if your kids ain't hungry and dusty and unfed, then you're not legitimate.
Yeah, so I think maybe I don't know about his business skills. Like, it just seems to me, what's your plan? What's your business plan?
That and there you go.
That's my thing.
Well,
Yeah.
that's another inherent mistake Sean is making. I think that he should do what a lot of pastors do in order to minimize the ambiguity. Is they will say, "Look, I got my church. I'm not taking no money from this church stuff, but I got my business over here. And this is I'm selling books. I'm doing just like you. I'm making my money so I can feed my family just like you are. Just like you go to UPS, you go to your job at McDonald's, you go to your job at at wherever. I gotta find a way to make income also, because this idea that an activist has to be broke to be legitimate. I think we gotta sort of second guess that, and that's really more of a communist socialist ideology, because that's why I don't go to the far left, because they believe rich people are fundamentally evil. They tend to believe that
Mhm.
corporations are always evil, and I've always said that black people need activism that has an economic base, because that's why you can't get shit done, because you don't got no money. If you ain't got no money, you can't move the needle.
Now, I will say that when you come up with really good thoughts and when you do a lot of research and when you do a lot of reading, it's a full time job. So I do understand like supporting that effort. Say, wow, you're giving me great information, and for this information, I can pay you for it. So it
Hmm.
seems like he's actually tried to. He had that North Star idea. That was a wonderful business plan for him to actually have initiated that. That could have been, I would have joined. That's something I would put my money behind.
Right.
If he had good content and
Hmm.
podcasts and stuff like that, he was offering me something, I would definitely sign up for that. For sure he would have gotten my money.
And that's the
Hmm.
other
What
thing.
happened?
That's the other thing I'd like to ask Sean about. And
Hmm.
I want to acknowledge
What does
my
Rieslow say?
Rieslow Sanders. My brother Ryan.
Oh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
Ryan's in the chat.
Okay,
He
what's he
he
say?
says that Sean is the male Rachel Dolezal.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It really is what I was thinking. Just if he really is he should just. How come he hasn't come out and talked about his ethnicity? I mean, I really think. Listen, I think it'd be great. Like, suppose he's a white guy. It'd be wonderful. He can model for other white men how to deal with these things. And there are a lot of white men who have issues with white supremacy and social justice issues and all of these same issues. I mean, you could use that as a beacon. Like, use yourself. Some of what you do, you need to use yourself and your identity. It has to
Yeah,
come
it's.
across. The fact that we don't really, that I don't know, I should know.
Hmm.
And I don't follow him very closely. I don't follow anyone that closely, but I should know.
Well, one of the things that's interesting is I was really trying to understand both sides of the issue
Hmm.
because honestly, like with Sean, I never really had a strong feeling one way or the other. I just noticed what he was doing. I said, okay, apparently somebody really likes it. Good for him. I just
Hmm.
didn't care. But I didn't understand the amount of vitriol toward him. I totally hear when he was saying that he feels it's kind of a COINTELPRO operation to really undermine the momentum. Like you kill both the good and the bad. Like, okay, this guy's not
Yeah.
perfect, so let's just take him out completely, and then we also take out anything righteous, anything good he's ever done. We want to kill that too because that's what the white man's always done. But
Mm.
but I wanted to read and say, well, what are people upset about? And I read this article in BuzzFeed, I believe, that really broke it down. And I don't know if I sent you the article or
Oh,
not.
he used to work for BuzzFeed.
Did you?
Yes, I saw it on the
Interesting.
Wikipedia page.
Wow, I didn't know that.
An-
So that
another, another, per, another.
well, that could have been a hit piece though. That could have been like, oh,
Uh,
we gonna get him.
he.
I have no idea, but check this out. So I was
Okay, what
reading
did
the
he say?
article and it was pretty detailed, and they kind of went down a list. Oh, the general theme of the article, and I encourage everybody to go read it. Like, do your research on people, whether criticize or not. Um, and basically, it seemed like there was a trail of tears where it's like Sean would raise a bunch of money for something and then not deliver on what he promised he was going to do. Like it started with 2011 where he oddly started raising money because he wanted to go climb a mountain. And then he started training to climb the mountain. And then he's like, I don't want to do it anymore. Now, in that case, I don't know if I think he might have gave the money back. But but I got this sense that there was this feeling. And the North Star was the big one. They said, okay, he starts the North Star. He says, we're going to create content and podcasts. And he hired Ben Dixon. Ben Dixon has been on my podcast. He's been on my platform a lot.
Hmm.
And we're gonna make it big and just do these amazing things, and everybody's excited. Sigourney Weaver, the billionaire, Robert Smith, and some others, they were given $10,000 a month to the North Star, and the membership fee was like $10 a month, and they had 30,000 members, so that's 300 grand a month. And from what I have read, there's a feeling that he did not deliver, that they did not
What is
follow
going?
through on what they said they were going to do.
What's going on that he didn't deliver? Like, if he had delivered on that, he could have bought not an $800,000 house. He could have bought a couple $1 million house with that, and done a really good job serving the public. What happened?
Well, you know what it is. It appears he has what I call, honestly, what I call the Umar Johnson problem. And
Um.
that problem is where your vision exceeds your administrative capability. If that's why, I'm always talking about to parents, and I tell them, you got to train your children to develop structure and organizations and systems
Mhm.
so that they can delegate tasks to other people who are more competent than them in specific areas. Because if I try to do something big and massive and I make myself the alpha and the omega of every single task that needs to be done, well, I'm doing everything in the whole organization from the secretary's work all the way up to the CEO. That organization is probably going to fail. No,
Mhm.
I don't care if you're working like a field slave. You can't do it all by yourself. And so, when I look at big projects like that, and that's the thing, people will get big platforms, so they'll make big announcements with these big projects, like I'm going to build a school, or I'm going to build a big, gigantic, massive. I'm going to build I'm going to build
Oh.
the first black space station,
Oh
y'all.
my God.
But listen,
And
right? So
mhm.
this is so because they have a big social media platform, people will get excited, like yeah, woo, and they'll donate a bunch of money to it, and then there's no ability to sort of implement all the tedious structure necessary to get that thing done. Like people don't understand how hard it is to complete a big task.
It really is. It's really overwhelming. And then how do you feel? You've just like put yourself in an impossible situation, and you're
Hmm.
overwhelmed by the details of it all. And you realize that you have got to have a whole entire team of people behind you. And so these are probably good, well-intentioned individuals who just have some weaknesses
We're
somewhere.
making that assumption,
That's
right?
the assumption
Like,
I'm
like I don't,
making.
yeah, and I'm not, yeah. So I think that, like,
Because it seems like that
yeah,
when I listen to the message, I can feel that is sincere.
hmm,
It's just it's you're just how are you going to deliver on it, and you
yeah.
can't.
And I think Sean even admitted, he said, sometimes my ambitions exceed my administrative capabilities.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's when I asked him legitimately, respectfully, brother to white man or whatever he is. Maybe he's not white, but I have no idea. And honestly, I don't give a shit. To be clear, if you're down and you're trying to do something good, and you're in even if you're not black, I'm sorry. I have no. I'm not gonna be the one to attack what you're doing, but I would legitimately ask him. I would say, "Where's your team? Show me your team. I know about you. I see you. You got all this spotlight. Where's your team? Are you trying to do a Tyler Perry? Because Tyler Perry was talking about how his whole writers' room had one person in it, and you run $1 billion enterprise that's affecting millions of people, and nobody else is involved other than the people that are that don't get any shine other than you.
Yeah, and you
Like,
get blindsided. You need somebody to check it. You need someone to check your statement before you make it publicly. You need someone to
mhm.
look it over and say, "I would take this part out. I would this. I don't think this is the message that you intended to send." You really do need to have somebody that you can bounce things off of to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward and you're
Yeah.
being thoughtful. I mean, that's just being thoughtful. So I think his statement should have been a little bit more thoughtful.
Yeah, that's another issue. Like,
Yeah,
so we read. I'm gonna read a statement here, so we can just. I want to be fair to Sean, right? I'm
yeah.
not here. I'm not here to bash the guy. I believe he really wanted to do this. I believe the North Star was a real vision for him that he wanted to pursue, and I think that what he needs to consider, if he hasn't considered yet already, the fact that he's acknowledged that he's not good administratively, that right there says that you answer that you've answered your own question on in terms of who you need to hire, what moves you need to make, and also you have to share power. You have to be surrounded by people that are as smart or smarter than you at whatever it is that they're supposed to do. Because, like for example, you see how much of a team I need to pull off the All Black National Convention. Like the All Black National Convention, which by the way, you guys, is happening at the end of October. We had a big team meeting. Like it's like a
Yes,
whole
we
bunch,
did.
and we're like, "Oh, we need to expand the team."
It was the Brady Bunch on
Yeah,
that Zoom call.
I was like, we need to bring in like probably another 20 more
Yeah,
people.
you do.
Seriously, I
Hmm.
mean, it's
Hmm.
gonna be a massive undertaking. By the way, it's in Orlando at the end of October, so clear your calendar. The tickets are going on sale in less than 2 weeks, so make sure you clear your calendar for the end of October. It's gonna be really good. We're gonna have a lot of breakout sessions on business, politics, relationships. We're gonna have a masquerade ball and award
Hmm.
show. We're gonna do the speed dating idea. I'm really excited about that. So, but anyway, yeah. So the thing about it, I want to tell everybody this. This is really important, is that when you're trying to really do something big, you may need to have some really smart people, task oriented people, people with different personalities on your team, so they can make sure that your vision gets implemented. I feel like at the stage Sean is at,
Hmm.
and this gets back to the money and the money that they're raising. I feel like he should just do one job. He should be like the president of a university. A lot of times, the president of a university doesn't run the university. They're out raising money for the university.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
bringing visibility to the university.
Hmm.
That's a full time job. So I think Sean should be the evangelist of his organization. That's it. My job is to be Shaun King and to
The
be
visionary.
yeah,
The visionary.
yeah,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, my job is
Hmm.
to get on the internet and do what I do
Hmm.
best, so I can draw attention to the issue, raise money, and then I got people in the background that are going to take that money and take
Hmm.
that information and implement the vision, and so we can really deliver. Because the fact that he couldn't deliver on the North Star, everything else, the mountain climbing, I can get that. Climb the mountains hard. Some of the other stuff, I get that. Um, but when with the North Star, like that's right up your lane, man.
Yeah, I mean, people were really interested. From what I read, people were really into that. That could have really taken off. What a miss.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is
Jeez.
this social media. I mean, podcasts are not that hard to do. You
Yeah.
get a bunch of
And you can get
writers.
the thing is you can be frustrated and you could run into it's hard to build a good team, someone that you can trust. Like it's not an easy process. But I think he should have stuck to that. That would have been
Yeah,
really
yeah. I hope he goes back to it
helpful.
actually, because I think that there's still hope for him. Let
Resurrect that North Star.
Yeah, and by the way,
Yeah.
hit the thumbs up button. Everybody, hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button. If you want to hear our pillow talks, Alicia and I do this every couple of days, and you can go to boyceandaliciatv.com. That's Boyce and Alicia TV. The URL's on the screen. Make sure you subscribe. So let me read this statement from Shaun King. Let's give him a fair hearing here. So he put out a statement after they had the big gotcha moment with the $840,000 house. which I don't think you can buy a gigantic house in New Jersey for 840. But it doesn't mean that it's not. But
What are you saying
it's
about New
not.
Jersey?
No, well, it's not a. Well, because houses.
Oh, it's so expensive.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's an
yeah.
expensive area,
Okay.
but it's the same time though. It's still a decent house, all right, a very nice house, right?
Hmm.
But it's not this sprawling mega mansion like you'd have thought he lived in a hundred
If
million
it was
dollar.
Florida or something,
Now, Florida,
that's an estate.
a 40 will get you something in Florida. Yeah. So here's what he says. He shows a picture of his family at the dinner table. And he says, "That's my family a few months ago in our home at our dinner table, happy. My wife bought this house with her credit and income, an FHA loan in a working class neighborhood. Because we couldn't afford to live in Brooklyn and wanted to own something now that we are both in our 40s. But now we're moving. It's devastating, honestly. The wife and kids have all cried over this. Our home has been plastered across Fox News, across the blogs, and all over Instagram. The actual address is everywhere. It is clearly not safe anymore, which was always the point. It's not lavish, it's not excessive. Those were lies, but it's ruined at this point. Thousands of you have asked me, and he adds his wife, Mrs. Rye King, how you can help us during this difficult time as we move our whole family out of our beloved home to a safe place. And we appreciate it. People can give at, and then he lists the Cash App, the Venmo, the PayPal, and the Zelle. And he says, we now need to find a new home, relocate, and have 24/7 security. The costs are outrageous. And to be frank, we just don't have it. We weren't prepared for this. We didn't want this. Not at all. I was minding my own business. She damn sure was. And quit lying and saying I posted people's addresses. I've never done it. Not once. People are going to lie and say I'm stealing or cheating or grifting. I just don't care what they have to say about me at this point. I just need to make sure my wife and kids and family are all safe and secure. Love and appreciate each of you, your friend and brother, Shaun. So, what do y'all think about the statement? What do y'all think about what Shaun had to say? Okay, Rieslow says 800K is working class. Stop the games. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think in New Jersey things do change, but I know in different parts of the country, 800K can go a long way. I think in Jersey it's not quite like that,
Hmm.
but 800. But a lot of people can't afford an $800,000 house. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah. So
But
I mean, that my heart goes out to his family, and he's got children, and if what he's saying is accurate, which it seems like it probably is accurate. I mean, that's a terrible thing to go through. It seems like they're panicking. It seems like a panic moment,
hmm.
and it just seems like he's in a desperate state. That's kind of what I drew from that, and it's
Well,
too bad.
I think that the statement, what I did not like, first of all, I think the statement to me makes me wonder who do you have in charge of your publicity?
Yeah.
Who's your spokesperson? You got millions of followers. Barack Obama and people like that, they have spokespeople. Now his platform's not as big as Barack's, but he's out there, and I kind of think at some point you can't just wing it anymore. But then
Hmm.
also, and then I'd be curious to know, who's your kind of board of advisors? Like, what smart people do you have around you that can help you
Hmm.
strategize to deal with different situations? Because I would say again, my platform's not as big as Sean's, but I have several million people on different Facebook pages. I have about 1 million on YouTube and about 308,000 on Instagram. So it's not a tiny platform. And one of the things I've learned is that the more you are out there and the
Hmm.
more you're taking on big fights, the more likely it is that the fight will come to you. I had a conversation with a white guy who was a billionaire once, and he had checked out our platform, and he really liked what we were doing. He said that economic thing. He said that's really going to make a difference. That's where the power is at. And he said, and the thing about fighting against powerful people is that when you run up a hill with your gun blazing, just know that they're going to shoot back at you.
Hmm.
And if you're not ready to be shot back at, then don't run up the hill with your gun out. And Sean constantly runs up the hill with his gun out. Shaun, I've looked at Shaun's page. Shaun is his page is full of lots of highly emotional calls to action and testimonials to kind of get people to engage.
Emotional.
Right, we
Mm-hmm.
engage with the powers that be. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, here's this white lady in the store who calls somebody the N word. Let's go get her, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's these sorts of actions are going to offend a lot of people, and you got to be ready for when they retaliate. So with Sean, I think that if I was just kind of talking to him, I'd say, look, man, you walked into war, and you brought your family into that war. And so with that comes, some benefits. You get to go. Rihanna gave him an award. He's got some opportunities. He's probably got some really famous friends now. But it also comes with a lot of big boy problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't be like that rapper the baby. I was laughing about the rapper the baby who's like crying like a baby now because they done took away all his money because he done pissed off gay people. And I said, yeah, this game ain't built for the baby. You got to be
Mm-hmm.
a man, and that means like so. I would just say this. If people were trying to pressure me into moving out of my house, I would be like, fuck all of y'all.
Mm-mm. We ain't going nowhere.
Right. No,
Yeah.
you ain't making me move. No. And you roll up in here, we're gonna have you're gonna get dealt with. And most people that are in that space understand. So I would tell Sean, no, don't move. Do not let these people have you moving out of your house. Just get,
Mm.
security. Yeah, security costs money. And that's one of the reasons why anybody who, I'm not telling you to love or to hate Shaun King. I'm not telling you that at all. This is not an endorsement one way or the other. But for those who love him,
Mm-hmm.
should make sure that he's protected. Seriously,
Mm-hmm.
like when Barack was running, you had all the Christians that would pray with him and say, we're going to protect you with the
They
blood of
sure
Jesus.
did. They made that circle, that prayer
They made
circle
the
around
prayer
him.
circle. They said, we're going to protect you with the
I
blood.
felt that prayer circle.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
that
real
was,
energy,
he
right? God
needed
bless him
that.
for that.
Yeah.
God bless him. Well, y'all need to protect Sean with something that's going to make sure he's good. Like Sean, and that's the thing. That's the big paradox of it all. If this man's work is beneficial to you, again, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking to the people that can't stand him. I mean, that's fine. Keep not giving him money. Keep not supporting him. It's okay. I don't support him. I don't send him. I haven't sent Sean King a nickel. But if Sean King is my man, like if I believe in what Sean's doing, I'm going to say, hey, bro, what can I do for you? What can we do as a group to make sure that you and your family have everything you need?
So he doesn't have to be desperate like this. So we got a lot of advice for Shaun King today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of the advice, what advice would you give him? I have several, but what do
Well,
you
it's
have?
real simple. Like,
Yeah.
it would be, well, what I would say to him is tighten up your organization.
Yeah.
A,
Mm-hmm.
a big part of manhood is delivering on the things you say you're going to do. You have to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
on a personal level and on the aggregate level. Um, and so I would say, okay, let's figure out what went wrong. Why is the North Star not popping?
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing: the best way to deal with your critics is not just to sit there and argue with them, and to get defensive or to feel sorry for yourself and tell
Yeah.
them how you're moving out of your house because they're messing with you. No, the
Mm-hmm.
best way to deal with your critics is to just be doing amazing shit. Keep shining, shine like the sun. The sun has a lot of gravitational power. It's the most powerful object in the solar system. The sun is not
It's not gonna
responding.
stop shining
Right, the sun. Right,
just because I got a sunburn, the sun
yeah,
ain't gonna stop shining.
right.
It's doing
The
its
sun is
thing.
not reacting. The sun does not react to the activities of the planets and the other celestial bodies.
They react to
They
him.
react to the
That's
sun.
right.
And all the sun does is it sits there and it just shines.
Oh, I love
it says,
that.
I'm shining, bitches. Like y'all recognize me.
Oh.
Right. So I would tell Sean, go shine. Like figure out what you do best.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're
Mm-hmm.
one of the best at it and do it well. And then all the people that love you, those are the ones that are gonna ride with you no matter what. You
Mm-hmm.
can't spend all your time worried about the people that hate you. Why? They're not supporting you anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It,
He seems worried. He seems worried and very anxious, and he really should shine. I got it. Just
mhm.
stick to what he's doing. I also think he should be a little more transparent in a way that's thoughtful.
Yeah.
I think he's quick to say, I have a black wife. Why can't he say, hey, we're an interracial couple. I'm a white man. I'm married to this black woman. Boom, boom, boom. Just be transparent. I don't get
Yeah.
why it's
Yeah.
not, why it's so blurry.
And I
It
think
shouldn't be
and I
blurry.
think it's kind of sad because it kind of makes it.
It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. By the way, Sharita says she loves our pillow talk. We
Oh,
love you too, Sharita.
yeah.
We do
Thank
this every
you.
couple
I
of
can't
days.
read the comments when you're in there.
Oh yeah, and you can subscribe actually if you go to boyce and alicia tv.com. You can actually subscribe. And somebody says LaClara says in a 95 a website posted his birth certificate listing both parents as white, as well as an arrest record listing him as white. No crime in being white, freedom fighter. They've
Yeah,
existed for centuries.
exactly.
Yeah. I would love to.
He's just as legitimate.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he should just take that head on. Like, yes, I'm white, and I'm doing more than a
Then
lot of black
a lot of
people I
black
know.
people put us to shame, right?
Yeah, that's a
It's
lot. That's
great.
I know black people. I don't. Not only do I know black people who ain't trying to do nothing for nobody, but I know some black people who would take you out faster than a white man. I really do. I'm serious. I mean, you talk about like you talk about headaches, and doing stuff that we do.
Oh, he
It's like,
gets a lot of headaches, though.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that Sean is. Let me see here. Um, Style to the Top says he kept claiming light skinned. I wonder if he was really claiming light skin. Was he really trying to?
Oh, that's not. Oh, come
He
on.
went to Morehouse.
He
Does he?
did go to
Does he have
Morehouse.
that Rachel Dolezal
That's
disease?
what it
That
is.
mental illness, that,
Yeah.
that transracial disease? Maybe
Mm.
they should have do they have a surgery for that?
There's no what
A they have transgender surgery, so they have transracial.
transracial surgery.
The
Oh
one Kim
God.
Kardashian, she got hers. She got the butt injections and stuff. But I don't know. I think so. I think overall, I wish him the best. I hope that he's able to grow and learn from this. He turned off all his social media and everything, and
Oh, he's having a hard time.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like to see anybody go through anything like that. I hope he regroups and comes back. The shining. I
we
like that.
social media.
Get your
We
shine.
know you told me that social media is linked to a lot of mental health issues,
Hmm.
so people should be careful.
It's related. It's related. So
Yeah.
your social media use is related to your mental health. Yeah.
Well, they're constantly injecting you with dopamine. They
Hmm.
design social media to be addictive. And that's why Kim Burns. Do you see where Kim Burns, the historian, actually said Mark Zuckerberg should be in prison?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because the way he's kind of manipulating
Hmm.
society and creating a lot of division and.
Well, we're being manipulated all around. I mean, every
Hmm.
time all media is manipulative in a way.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
Linus Crown is in here. Oh, there's Jade. Jade said B1. Jade,
Hey, that's
Jade
what's up.
Arundel.
Hey.
Hey, Jade, make sure you come to the All Black National Convention. I want you on the stage. Can't wait to see you.
Yes, we got to hear her talk.
Oh yeah,
She's
Jade is
got it.
fascinating. Very smart
And
black
she's her
woman.
own star. She's her own sun.
Yes, she
She
is.
shines in her way, and that's important. You respect that about other people.
Yes, yes, she is.
Hmm.
And she says, "Yep, that's why she's not even on social media. I don't even have the apps on my phone. So good for
Oh,
her.
that's great.
Yeah, you got to keep your
Hmm.
peace. Social media, they keep people divided and they keep people going crazy and constantly reacting and stuff. And I got to the point. I mean,
Hmm.
I got to the point where I stopped really reading comments for a long time because you have to be mindful of your emotional state. So I would start reading comments, and next thing you know, I'm responding to
Don't.
crazy idiots, and it's a different world. Like when I had that weird thing with Kwame Brown, where somehow he decided to do 50 videos about us, even though he had never met either one of us.
He's gonna do more. You
Right,
know he
whatever. It
will.
is fine. He now he can do as many as he want. I don't give a shit. But it was
Hmm.
like it's like okay, I'm turning this shit off. Like we're not doing this, because that stuff will drive you insane. So you can't get caught up in that stuff. Now Tony Lindsay, what's up, Tony? Tony says Shaun King will get more done if he admitted he was white. I do
Yeah.
agree. He needs to
Yeah.
go and admit that. He would honestly get more done, considering how much black folk idolize white folks anyway.
And that's right.
That is so true. If white people don't co-sign on it, we won't. We just don't think it's.
We give him a pass.
Which white man done gave you a validation? Did you get your papers, Negro? You ain't got no papers. Yeah, well, you know what? Actually, Dr. Claude Anderson says that in Black Labor, White Wealth, that black people are trained and
Hmm.
conditioned to see themselves through the eyes of whites. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
we're reading that book now in the book club. By the way, if you want to join us, you can get free access to my life class as well by going to blackkeystogreatness.com. We do the book club every Wednesday night at 8:30, and right now we're reading Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson, which will give you tremendous insights into why America is what it is right now.
Oh, you absolutely go crazy if you're looking for white people to validate you.
Hmm. Yeah, you can't.
Hmm.
You just can't do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um. So anyway, did you have any more thoughts, babe? Anything else on your mind?
Not really.
Yeah,
This
I
was
think we
fun.
I think we shine kinged out. We're shine
We
kinged out.
shined kinged
We're shine
ourselves
kinged
out.
out. But let me just make this final. I'll make this quick point
Okay, go
about
ahead.
Sean. You know, I wasn't. I was really fascinated when he issued that big, gigantic 90-page report, trying to prove that he hadn't taken any of the money that was raised. And I know that when a lot of money gets raised, you're gonna have some things happen, confusion, fighting. It's highly likely. And the reason that it surprised me was I said, okay, this is very fascinating. So he appears to be engaged in what I would argue is the impossible task of proving that you're perfect and that you've never ever made a single nickel from world changing work that you've been doing for the last several years. And again, I submit to everybody a point to consider. You don't have to agree with me, but here's a point. In most situations, when somebody's good at what they do, it's okay. We're okay with them being compensated for that. I saw Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg, cooning it out on NBC. Literally, they look like Step and Fetch It. I ain't gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
And they were on NBC doing this like almost like a Laurel and Hardy comedy thing where they're hosting whatever. And I'm sure they
Mm-hmm.
got paid millions of dollars to do that. And we totally get it when a comedian is paid a lot of money for being really funny. We totally get it when a rapper is paid a lot of money for being real ratchet and making it rhyme. We're not surprised to see people get paid when they do a good job at something. The one area where that rule does not apply is in the area of activism and fundraising in the Black community. Now, I submit this point to you. I brought this up in the video I did about Shaun not too long ago, and I broke down. I said, let's look up some of the biggest charitable organizations in America, the biggest fundraisers in America, and let's see how much the CEOs earn per year. So we had like the CEO of the Red Cross and CEO of the Kosher Children's Hospital, stuff like that. All these people that have raised money, they were all making millions of dollars a year. Like the idea that somebody could raise, 10
Mm-hmm.
million, 20 million, 30 million, and then be uncompensated, like have to do this job as a charitable labor of love at the expense of their ability to go to work every day like the rest of us. Because they can't really go to work on a regular job because they're working so hard at raising money. The idea that any of these CEOs would do their job for free is not even
Mm-hmm.
rational.
Yeah, but they have good PR people.
Right.
So I mean, we see when I think Red Cross, you know what I think? I think
Right.
of a little child with a blanket over her head and a little teddy
Mm-hmm.
bear, and there's
Mm-hmm.
tears, and there's a lady there with a Red Cross shirt on or with a jacket, and she's wiping those tears away.
Mm.
I have that image because of media has put out
Because of
that
marketing, yeah.
it's marketing. It's they do a wonderful job. I could reach in my pocket and give money because I want that little girl, to be okay.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing,
That's
and,
great.
and the question is, why do these people get paid the money? They get paid the money
Mhm.
because they're able to raise money. They're good at what they do, and so again, I'm not telling people what they should think about Shaun King. I mean, if you don't like him or you don't want to give any money to him, don't do it. I told you, I don't give any money to Shaun King. I'm literally an armchair quarterback on all of this. But if that's your guy and you believe in him, why would you be offended that he was getting compensated for all the great work that he's doing for you and your clique? Like seriously, he's brought
Well,
attention.
who's offended? It seems like BuzzFeed was offended
That's the thing.
if they put that out
That's the
there.
thing. Typically, the people who really will attack the most will be people who haven't put anything into the pot, and that's why I believe you have to pay to play. So, for example,
Mhm.
when I mentioned my thoughts on the Umar Johnson school, I could legitimately say I said, yeah, I gave money. Now it was just $25, but I said, look, I gave $25. A lot of people gave $25. I think that those people who gave their little $25, $100, $50, or whatever have
Mhm.
a right to say, okay, well, we gave money to this thing. Where is the thing that we gave money to? And I think that's where the accountability piece it appears, at least to Shaun's own admission, that he came up short. But I think that the idea that he should just be dead, broke, busted, and poor, not only is that not logical, but that's not safe for him. Because when you get that big, you become a big target. You get hit with $100 million lawsuits. You have people coming, that might be coming to try to kill you.
Mhm.
So you need security. Look what happened with Malcolm. Look at what happened with Malcolm X. Now I'm not comparing Shaun King to Malcolm X. It's up to you to decide if that's
Talcum
right.
mix.
Malcolm X, Malcolm X, right? But same thing. Activists with big platforms. Malcolm X was an activist with a big platform. Malcolm's big mistake, in my view, was that Malcolm didn't seem to understand completely that when you are fighting big enemies like that and you become a big target, you're going to have some big problems and you're going to have big solutions. So when
Mhm.
Bumpy Johnson pops in and says, hey, man, I got soldiers, you need some security? You don't say no to that. You say yes, I do.
Yeah,
You
I thought
know.
it was really interesting that he was relying on the FBI to sit out in front of his house and protect him and his family.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
That was surprising to me.
well, you're surprised that he had the FBI.
Well, that's how it was on
Oh well,
Bumpy Johnson's
you can't. Well, you
show.
got to remember
That's
that's a
real to me.
remember that's
What
a
you talking about?
remember that's a TV show.
That's a
No,
TV show.
open
What?
up my window again. Yeah,
Yeah.
open up my
What
window again.
happened? Did what happened to the episodes of that
I
series?
don't know, but it's a good Godfather of Harlem. That's a great
Godfather of
show.
Harlem. What
I love that
happened?
show. I don't know, but I highly recommend Godfather of Harlem. It's a good show.
That's a fun
But you
one.
got to remember this too, though.
Hmm.
My friends from the Nation of Islam, Brother Wesley Muhammad, Nuri, and some others, they seem to feel that the Godfather of Harlem does not do an accurate portrayal of the
Of what
NOI. And
happened?
yeah, and I know that that's a sore spot for a lot of people, but so that should be taken with a grain of salt. However, I do think it's a good show.
Oh, that show, it does not show favorably at all
Well,
to
it doesn't. It doesn't, right?
and it's strange because I grew up with two parents. I grew up with both my parents who was down for the Nation of Islam. They weren't members, but they were heavily affiliated with the Nation of Islam in Chicago.
well, you know
You
what?
know,
I just say this real clear.
it's hard,
I love the Nation of Islam. Period.
right?
I know about the complex history. I know that maybe there are some dark spots. Perhaps in that history because you're talking about a long history with a lot of people involved.
Hmm.
But I believe the good far outweighs the bad, and that's how. And I believe that that's a good way to look at the legacy of anything or anyone, particularly something that's complex. Like
Hmm.
so, for example, Bill Cosby. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I believe or know for sure that he never did anything wrong. I just take in the good and the bad. I look at the entirety of the legacy. Whereas I think we live in a world that encourages us to see things as black and white. Either
Well,
you're good and good or evil, and that's just a bad way to
yeah,
look at
and that's a
anything.
bad way because there are a lot of white people who have done terrible things, but we see them in a great light.
Right? I mean, shit. George Washington raped slaves, and
Exactly.
he's like the greatest hero
What
in
are you talking
America.
about? I'm talking about Elvis Presley. Didn't he
Elvis
marry
Presley
a
raped
13-year?
teenagers. Yeah, I mean, come on
See,
now, seriously. Like,
don't say nothing about Elvis. They will go. People will go off on
right.
you. It, man, he's got his own.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog,
He
crying all the
stole
time.
our style. But yeah, there are people who are protected, black and
You ain't
white.
nothing but a
Yeah.
hound dog. You ain't no friend of mine. Anyway,
He
but
was
yeah,
getting
yeah.
it.
So I would say overall that just going back to Sean, I think you have big enemies, you're making big promises, you're a big target, you need big resources. And so my thought would be, how do you make sure that he has what he needs? Like the fact that he can't even afford a damn house, that he's not a leader, he's a martyr. And I just don't think, I mean, why does he have to be Jesus or something? Like why can't you have a leader where you say we're going to make sure our leaders protected? Like when the Bulls wanted to win championships, they made
Mhm.
sure Michael Jordan had what he needed.
Yeah, but
You know, wait,
it's
but
really tough when you're asking for donations. Like when you ask for
yeah,
donations, do you know what it puts me in the mindset of?
but
These really rich pastors who have
mm,
these churches and in the poor black community, and then they get into their expensive car and drive away. And they
mhm.
just come. That's what it's a bad taste in my mouth personally.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think what it does, the
That's the
reason.
part.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so a pastor that goes to a poor community and drives away in a fancy car, right? We have a problem with that for legitimate reason.
Hmm.
But if let's say it's I don't know, let's say it's a comedian who comes in and does a comedy show, and he ain't saving your soul, he ain't giving you motivation, he's just telling you jokes that's making you feel good, and he drives off in a fancy car. It's Dave Chappelle or somebody. We're not going to be offended, right? And I thought about that, right? And I was like, what's the difference? And I think the difference is that we feel that because the pastor is um, in this place where there's supposed to be this sort of spiritual, morality based kind of framework, that person, that it's unethical for them to actually profit from what they do. And the way I kind of see it is pastors do a lot of good for those people. I don't agree with it. I don't even go to church.
I'm talking about donation because pastors
Hmm.
take donations.
Right.
When you go to
And
see someone in a concert, you or a show, you're like, okay, I'm paying my $50. I'm giving you that $50. It's like it's
hmm
understood
right. And
that
that
that's what they're gonna
well, I would
get.
say that's even
Hmm.
worse though, because think about it. A donation means that if you don't like it, if you don't want to give money, you don't have to. Like you don't have to
You can
donate.
still show up
If
even though
somebody,
you don't
right, if
give a
somebody
donation.
says,
Hmm.
if somebody says to me, "Hey, boys, I would like for you to donate money," and I don't like what you're doing, I think you're hurting me. I'm not gonna make a donation. I
Yeah.
make a donation. I think the
Is
reason,
the donation like a tithe? Like you're
well,
saving your soul
right,
by giving your
and
tithes?
that's right. That's the
And
issue, right?
that's
There's the
something
question
there.
of manipulation, right? Like
Hmm.
if you give me money, you can go to heaven, and if you don't, you're definitely gonna burn in hell.
It just seems more cut and dry when you're at a concert. Like I'm going to
Hmm.
Lollapalooza. I'm gonna pay my $200. I'm gonna see these artists, and I know what it is. It is what it is.
That's so true.
But this is just
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, on one hand, in a concert, if you don't pay the money, you can't get in, right?
yeah, it's
Now, church, but
understood.
now the church, though, on the good side, they'll let you in even if you don't have any money most of the time.
Save your
But
soul.
the difference though is that the concert they don't tell you that if you don't pay us money, you ain't shit and you gonna go to hell.
Well, let me tell you, you don't know how
Uh,
these churches are. I know a church.
no, but churches do no.
They're like, give me your tax
Mhm.
information.
Yeah,
How come you're not giving 10%?
yeah.
Which that's not what that tithes mean though. It
Yeah,
You can give 10% of your
I'm not gonna
time.
tie to no pastor. I'm just not. It's like, look, if I want to do God's work with my money,
Yeah.
I can do God's work right in my own damn family. I got enough charity cases right around me that where I can do, the God's work without giving you money to pay for your Bentley or whatever. But I do think similarly though, if somebody's good at what they do, I go back to that basic idea. If somebody's good at what they do and they're
Mm-hmm.
adding value to your life, why do we see there being a problem with that person being compensated for that?
Yeah. So
And think
so
about how
like in
many.
a restaurant, you go to a restaurant, the server does a good job, you give her a tip.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I watch a movie. I have no problem giving
Mm-hmm.
money to see a good movie. What it comes down to is kind of giving me an experience that makes me feel better. So if you if I go to a concert and you sing well for me, I'm gonna make sure you get paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so same thing is true with what you people got to realize is that really pastors, a lot of pastors ain't, they're not these spiritual gurus that we think they are.
Just regular
They're
people.
really entertainers. Pastors are
Mm-hmm.
just like fucking rappers.
Mm-hmm.
They get up there, yes, Lord, and Jesus told me, and he said to me, a hump a bum bum,
Yeah.
a rump a pum pum, a rump a pum.
Yeah.
Like they'll just get up there and they'll start rapping and rhyming and shit, and then people get all excited and just jump up and down. So you didn't really get your soul saved. You just kind of went to a Snoop Dogg concert.
Yeah, but okay. So in defense of pastors, I will say that a lot of times they get called in the middle of the night when something happens with someone in the congregation. They have to do funerals, they do weddings, they do a lot of stuff. Like they're
I would
always on
not
the clock.
I would not want to be a pastor because
It is a big
it is a
work.
very difficult job. That's why a lot of pastors have depression because
Yeah, they
it's a
do.
draining job.
It's tough.
You're expected to be there for everybody and give yourself to everything and everyone.
Uh-huh. And
And
oftentimes their family don't see them a lot because they get pulled away
mm-hmm.
because they're dedicated to this church. So I do get. I'm not gonna
Yeah. Oh,
come down on
and then after
pastors.
you do all that, people get mad because you got a nice car. like,
They're like, good grief.
it's okay for me to have a nice car if I work at if I'm working my job
It's
at Google or
it's
Amazon,
yeah.
but if you got a nice car, no, you're supposed to be broke.
Yeah. And
Like
I do know some churches where if you come to the church and you say, I can't pay my light bill, they do have a fund. They got a bill.
yes,
Remember the building fund?
yeah,
They got the building
but the
fund.
buildings never got built. Yeah, and but I think
Yeah.
it's also, let's make sure it's clear that it's not appropriate to categorize all the black
Yeah. So
churches,
I
right?
that's why I
There's
wanted to say
thousands of
that.
them, right?
There's some
Some are
really
doing
good
it right,
ones.
some are doing it wrong, and I agree. So, Dr. Shaun Spence, thank you for your donation, brother. I appreciate that. He says, great dialogue. Love hearing two intelligent perspectives. Well, Dr. Spence, we love hearing you, brother. We respect you as well. And so I think it's good. I think this is a good note to go ahead and shut down the conversation. But I say overall, with Shaun King, if you are a person that backs up Shaun, I'm gonna go ahead and just make it clear that I think that his family probably does need resources that will allow them to at least be safe while they're doing what they do. And then also, I would say to Shaun, he needs a team. And if he does have a team, he needs to have it more structured, and he needs to have
Mhm.
a little more visibility with that team so they can come through and help him out and give him good ideas on how to deal with things as they come up. And then lastly, I would encourage him to have somebody help him develop a business model so that you can take the brand you built. You have this great name. Everyone knows who you are. Um, the biggest thing, the biggest mistake Black activists make is we align ourselves too far with leftist ideologies that are anti-money, anti-wealth, anti-business. And what that does is that puts us in a poverty trap. And because we're not like the white liberals. We don't have the billion-dollar benefactors behind the scenes like that guy that was funding Black Lives Matter, Soros. Like, we don't have the George Soroses out there that can go write big checks. We've had some, right? Like A.G. Gaston in Birmingham used to write big checks to the civil rights movement. He was like, look, I'm gonna go out here and make money. Y'all go out and do the activism. I'll bail you out of jail. And so everybody has a different role, right? But with some activists, you may not have access to that, which means that you might need to incorporate a business model into what you're doing, so that you, instead of constantly giving people your Cash App and your Venmo, you can
Mhm.
offer them products.
Well, the thing is that we don't need more rich Black activists.
Mm,
We don't need more activists who are rich. We need more of an impact in the community. And people,
mm.
I think about politicians. We haven't talked about politicians.
Oh
We
Lord,
haven't talked about,
ain't no point in talking about the
we haven't
politicians.
talked about them, and they use us and they use our vote. So we don't need more of that. We need more impact in our community. That's what we need.
Well, we do, and money is the
Mhm.
greatest way to do that, though.
Mhm. Mhm.
Money matters. You can't act
Mhm.
like the money doesn't matter, or that you can do all this stuff and be broke. It's not going to work. It just doesn't. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and shut this down. So babe, do you have any final thoughts before we go?
Yeah, I think I think what I'm going to do is, the biggest takeaway from me, from your words, voice, was
Hmm.
to be your own sun. I'm going to be my own star.
Yeah, just go shine.
Yeah, I'm going to go shine. That's
All
the
right.
biggest thing.
So everybody go out here, keep shining, keep doing your thing. Be the best you can be. And remember that the great way to know that you're good at what you do is when you start getting haters.
Mhm.
When your critics and haters start piling up to the ceiling, that means
Yeah.
that you might be stomping out some roaches. So ain't nothing wrong
Yeah,
with
and
that.
another thing I want to say is that when you're your own star, when you're your own shine, you don't
Mm,
need to look for activism to change your life. I
mm,
mean, really, the biggest change that can happen in all of us who need it is
mhm.
is really learning how to be your own sun, your own
Yeah,
shine.
yeah. Work
Yeah.
within yourself. Keep moving forward. So
Stop looking outside of yourself. I just do not like that. Of
yeah,
course,
yeah, that's
you
true.
know,
That's a good point. Good spiritual advice.
good spiritual
Yeah,
advice.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's important on a metaphysical level, because you absorb all that
Yeah,
crazy
but
energy.
the thing
It's
is
gonna
that
make you unhappy.
that's the only thing that's ever gotten anybody to change anyway.
Hmm.
You can't look for some pastor, you can't look for some activist to come and save the Black community. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen, I don't
Well,
think.
yeah. I mean, you save
You have
yourself.
to be inspired to want to do it on your own.
Yeah, save your family.
Ain't no charity going to save us.
No, charity's not gonna work. Charity's never worked. It's not. I mean, to this day,
It'd be
it's.
so easy if you could just write a check and save it. It's
Mm,
not going to be saved by money.
well, money's gonna matter, but it's not. But not in the way that people think. Like, it's not gonna be. Heck, it can't be charity based. It must be. I think.
Empowering. It has to be something that's empowering.
Right. I agree.
Hmm.
100%. All right, everybody. Well, it was great talking to you, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And you can subscribe at voiceandaliciatv.com. These are our pillow talks. We do pillow talks every couple of days where we lay against the pillow and have conversations about important issues that are happening in our community. So make sure you subscribe. And also, don't forget, the All Black National Convention is going to happen this year at the end of October. So mark your calendar. Tickets go on sale in a few days. And we're going to be in Orlando, and it's the last weekend of October, the 29th through November 1st. And we're going to have breakout sessions on every area of business you can possibly think of, in addition to panels on everything from politics to hip hop to relationships, everything else. And then we're going to show films. We're also going to have a masquerade ball. We're going to have speed dating for people that want to meet other B1 people. And we're going to have actually the business version of speed dating, where we're going to let people get together and find business partners and groups that you can work with in order to build your empire. So clear your calendar. It's going to be great. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful day. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
All right.
Mhm.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.